Hi, welcome. In the following videos, I will be demonstrating some of our recommended best practices for using the stack method effectively and easily. We want to help alleviate the stress associated with email and get your inbox to zero. It's important to note that these are recommendations. They're not hard and fast rules. We want the process to be comfortable and effortless to maintain, so please feel free to customize it to fit you. The stack method is designed to give you back more of your time and is completely non-destructive. You won't lose any important emails, we promise. Happy stacking! Okay, so we're going to do stack for Gmail. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is change the settings so we're all set up and ready to go. So we would click the settings button, go to see all settings, and then I'm just going to show you a few of them. These are all going to be personal preference, so however you want to set those up, that's fine. The thing that I do want to show you though is if you scroll down, you'll see conversation view. And you can see it even tells you it sets whether emails of the same topic are grouped together. So if you have a bunch of threads, they'll all be selected and they'll all group together. And that way, every time something new comes in, you can see the entire thread below. So I like to select conversation view on for that reason. The next thing you can do, and this is really important, is desktop notifications. And select mail notifications off. Now, I know it's a little scary. Some people feel like they're going to miss something, but I promise you, you won't because you're still going to check your email. But what this enables you to do is not get distracted every single time you get pinged while you're trying to focus on something else. So you want to select off. The next thing we're going to do are stars. You can use as many of these as you like. I think for the purposes of making it simple and effective, 1 star is generally the best. And you can drag them on or off. I'm going to do 1 star, and you can literally choose whatever color you want and just drag them on and off. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to go with a red star because I prefer that, and I'll put that there. And then the next one is the most important one you're going to select, and that's that keyboard shortcuts be on. You actually won't be able to do any of the shortcuts I'm going to show you without this selected. And if you get nothing else but the keyboard shortcuts out of this workshop, you will absolutely save yourself a tremendous amount of time. So make sure that's selected. When you're done, you're going to come all the way down to the bottom and click Save Changes. Mine is grayed out because I've already selected these options. Once you hit Save Changes, you're done and you can just go back to your inbox. Okay, so we're going to do the stack method for Gmail. Now here I am in my inbox, and before we get started, I want to call your attention on the left-hand taskbar here to these folders, which in Gmail are called labels. So I'm going to refer to them as labels. And we have picked short, action-oriented names for all of these. And you'll also notice that I've put the number of the label next to the name. And I've done this deliberately because I want to keep this in the priority order in which I actually like to work. So I'd rather reply to something before doing something, meeting someone, etc. Now, if you recall from the stack method, when you get an email, you go through 4 steps. You have to open it, you have to scan it, you have to decide what to do, and then you have to act on it. The idea of these labels here is that it's going to take some of the guesswork out. Once you've put these into the appropriate labels, you'll notice that everything in the reply is something you have to reply to. Everything in the do folder or label is something that you need to schedule for yourself, like a task, etc. So we're going to go ahead and work through these right now. I'm going to go back to my inbox, and I'm going to scan the message and decide which one of these action labels it's going to relate to. So I'm going to say this one's a do. Now I'm going to use my keyboard shortcuts rather than dragging it in with the mouse because it's going to save a lot of time. So I would hit X, so that would actually select the message. And then I would hit V as in Victor. And what that lets you do is move it to a folder. And then all I would need to do is type in the number of the folder or begin typing in the name of the folder, and it would pull it up. So I've decided this one's a do. So I'm going to put in the number 2. There it is. I'm going to hit return, and let's check to see if it's there. There it is. So I'm going to go through my inbox doing exactly this. I'm going to say this one's a do as well. So again, I'm going to hit X, V, 2, return. This one's a meeting request, and I'm going to do this with each of the ones that I have. Let's make sure that meeting request is there. There it is. It's in my label. So I'm going to keep going through all of these and in the same way, and I'm doing it a little more slowly than I normally would, just so that you're actually seeing me do this. I'm going to say this one's probably a reply, so I'm going to do that. So you're seeing how I'm doing this. So this one's a reply, this one's for a review, and I'm going to just work on this in a sort of a quick, normal fashion that I would work on it now. This one is probably a reschedule request, so I'm going to say this one might be a meet. This one's probably a reply. This one's a do. This one is a do. This one's a newsletter, so I'm going to say this one's a review. I'll say this one's a reply, and I'll say that this one is also a reply. And now I'm going to take a huge, deep breath and sigh of relief, because guess what? My inbox is empty. So now, after I've done that, I'm going to come over to these labels, and I'm going to work through each of these labels in the order with which I prioritize them. So first I'll go over to the replies. And then what I'm going to do here is, within these labels that you've created, once you've moved the emails to them, you'll probably look through and notice that some of them are going to take a little more time, and some of them are things you can deal with in real time and archive or delete. And again, we always recommend archive so that it's non-destructive, so you can still search for it and find it later. So I'm going to decide this one's a fast one. And what I'll do is, using the up and down arrow keys, I'm going to star all of the emails that I feel like I can answer in real time right now. So this one is one I can answer right now. So I'm going to star it. And how I did that is I used the keyboard shortcut. I used the letter S as in Sam. And I'm going to keep going down. I'm going to say, this one's going to take time. I can definitely do this one now. Need to spend some time on that. Yeah, I think those two are good for right now. Actually, I could probably do this one as well. This one, so I'm going to say I'm going to respond to that as well. So then I'm going to come back up to the top of the list here, and I'm going to hit R, which is reply, keyboard shortcut, and I'm going to just reply in real time. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit send. And now I already dealt with this, and you'll see that it also went ahead and labeled it as priority, because that's a rule I've set up, that anything from Prashanth comes up that way, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But since I already did it, I don't need it right now, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Y, which archives it. And the archive is down here. If you click more, it goes into this all mail folder, which is the archive, and you can always do a search in there. So I'm going to do that for each of these. This one is also one I'm going to respond to in real time. I'm going to send that one. I already did it, so I'm going to go ahead. You can also press this, but I'm going to hit Y to archive. And then I would do the last one that I selected. Going to go ahead and respond to this. Send it. Again, I've done this. Now I only have 2 things left in my reply folder, and they're both some things that I need to get to later. So that's something I'm going to come back to, and I would do the same thing. I would go through, schedule things in my do. Same thing, I'd star what I needed to do right now. I've got to do this, and this one I'm going to do later because it's going to take more time. And I would do these in real time, and then once they're done, archive or delete them. So that's how you would do the stack method. You would go through your inbox, go through all of your action labels, and then you'd come back to your inbox, take a deep sigh of relief because you have nothing in there. And then for the rest of the day, you would work from your inbox. So anything new that comes in, you would deal with in real time. And then anything that you think might take a little more time, you'd put in one of these action labels. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to create your action folders in your left taskbar. Now, as a reminder, in Gmail, these are actually referred to as labels and not folders. So what we're going to do is set those up. Now, you'll see right now I already have all of the ones that I normally use set up. So I have 1 through 7, reply, do, meet, and so on. So what we would do is, for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to delete this one so that I can create a new one. So I'm just going to go in here, I'm going to remove this label, and I'm going to create a new one so you see how to do it. So what I would do is go down to where this arrow is next to the word more, click on there, and if you scroll to the bottom, you'll notice that it says create new label at the bottom. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to go ahead and type in 3 meet. So I had deleted that a second ago. So I'm going to go ahead and add that back in. Now, if I wanted to make it a sub-label, I could do this. And we're not going to do this for this particular one because we want this to be a main label. I'm going to hit create. And then if we scroll up, here it is. It's been created. And you can adjust the label color. You can hide or show it in label list right here by clicking these 3 dots. So you would go ahead and do this for each of your main folders. And then for 7, when you would create it, and we'll talk about how to expand that in a second. Now, we know that 1 through 6 are going to be actions that you do regularly. Another way to manage these is to go into settings, go into see all settings, and where it says labels, this enables you to show, hide, and make different choices about preferences, you know, if you want to show if unread, etc. So this is a way you could manage it through settings. I really like to just do it in the left taskbar. So let's talk also now about the when folder. So these are your action folders, as you saw earlier. We're going to move emails into these particular labels so that we know what to do with them when we work through our labels. The when folder is a little bit different. So you can see right here that if I click on this arrow, it uncollapses this and expands it, and you'll see that you can actually create all of these folders below it. Now, what the when folder is used for is we use that for active projects. So let's say you're working on creating an October presentation, like this first label. Anything that comes into your inbox, you can create a rule for it to just go right into this folder so it doesn't have to clutter your inbox. You can also take any emails that you get and move it there. Let's say I got this one in my inbox because I haven't set up the rule yet, and I want that to go ahead and move that into creating October presentation. I do it the same way you saw me move the emails earlier. I would hit X, V, I start typing in the word creating. You can see it pulls it up right here, hit return, and then let's see, is it there? It is. So that would be a great way for you to save time as well. And again, you don't want to have too many folders that this is going to be really overwhelming, but this is for active projects, you know, presentations, things like that that you're working on right now. And when you're done with it, you can go ahead and hide the folder when you're done. If you remove it, it deletes it. So I'd recommend hiding it. And once you hide it, you won't have to see it actively in the when folder. And again, just like when we archived our emails earlier, when you go into this all mail area right here, that's where the folder would appear. So that's what I would recommend, and you can easily create these, and then you can also rename them or move them around or do what you prefer to do. Again, this is the order I like to work in. This is how I like to name them. You might want to call one of these trade or invoice, whatever is going to be your workflow, that's what you want to do. Okay, so one of the most important things about making Stack a habit that you can maintain is booking time on your calendar. And I'm going to show you how to create time in your calendar so that you both work through the stacking process where you stack through your inbox, put things in your action labels and work through those, and also work from your inbox during the day. So we're going to think of it as two different things we're scheduling. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click into a time that we want to make available for, and I'm going to make this be a tasks. So I'm going to click that. So what I'm going to do is go into, let's say 9 a.m. and I would literally go into, I'm going to say stack, and I'm going to call this one folders. And the reason I'm calling this one folders is that I want to spend the time going through my inbox, putting them in my action folders or labels as they're called in Gmail, and working through all of these. And I'm going to give myself an hour of time, which is a good chunk of time to get all of that done to try to get my inbox to 0. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into more options and I'm going to do a couple of things. I want this to repeat every day. So I'm going to say that I actually want this to repeat every weekday at this time. And I'm going to mark this as busy. And the reason that I'm going to do that is I need that time for myself to make sure that I'm working through my inbox and then working through my action labels. Now, people often ask, wow, you're going to give yourself a whole hour of working time to do this? Yes. I want you to think about how much time you're spending going through your emails on a daily basis, checking them, getting distracted by them. This will enable you to have a solid chunk of time to work on your emails, get them all squared away, and then you can just work on whatever comes in your inbox during the day. So I'm going to click save, and I'm actually going to choose this red color for this. And you'll notice that it's been created and it repeats. And you can see it repeats here as well. And then I'm going to create two smaller times. The first one is going to be at 1 p.m. And I'm going to call this one Stack Inbox. And this is going to be exactly what we talked about, how to work through your inbox. So I'll go into more options. I'm only going to make this one a half hour. And I'm going to have this also repeat every weekday. Change the color so it matches. And I'm going to mark this one as free. I'm marking this as free because this is me checking my inbox and things may come up during the day. So I want people to be able to schedule over it, etc. So I'm going to click save and you'll see that there it is. I'm going to do one more half-hour slot just to deal with my inbox. And I'm going to do that one at, let's say I'm actually going to do it at 4:30. So we'll do this one at 4:30 and I'm also going to call this one Stack Inbox. I'm going to go in here, mark this one as free as well. Also change the color to match the other stacking times. Hit save. Whoop, that one made it too long. Easy to edit. We can just make that a half hour. Hit save, and there we go. Now you'll notice I forgot to do something important here. I didn't make it recurring. So I'm going to go back in here, make sure every weekday is selected, and then hit save, and there it is. So why the two different ones? Again, we're using this time that's marked as busy to go through our inbox and then our action folders or labels as they're called in Gmail. And these are literally to deal with emails that come in during the day. Now, will you still check your email at various points? Yes, you will, and that's fine. But this enables you to really sit down, give yourself 30 minutes to deal with emails that you can quickly respond to during the course of the day. And the nice thing about this is we can move them around. Let's say, you know what, today I don't really have time to spend an hour on this, and I'm going to have to catch up tomorrow. I can easily delete this. I can also go ahead and say, I'd like to start with my inbox first thing in the morning, and I can move that up, and I can move all of these around as I need to. Something other people like to do, which is a process that works well for some people, is to do the stack folders at the end of the day, and then deal with their email first thing in the inbox, and then again at lunchtime. And so you can do this however you want to, but you want to make the process something that you're going to stick to. So put these slots in a place that works best for you. We're going to talk about how to schedule work using the do label. And it's a really helpful tool because this enables you to put tasks that you've received or tasks that you want to assign yourself onto your calendar. And that's actually how it's different than the Meet folder, because the Meet is for calendar invites and the do folder is for tasks. So what I would do is I'm going to say I've already worked through my inbox, I've put everything in the appropriate labels, and here I am in the do label and I want to schedule this task for myself. So I'm going to star it because it's something I'm doing in real time right now. And then I'm going to come up to these three dots here at the top, and I'm going to select Create Event, which pops me into my calendar. I would type in do : space. So when I look at my calendar, I know that's a task that I need to accomplish. And then I'm going to go over here and delete all of the guests. That's really important because it's picking up the guests from the email, but you don't want to go ahead and send a calendar invite for something that you're scheduling as a task for yourself on your calendar. So make sure you delete the guests and you find a time for the meeting. So I'm going to say I'm going to schedule time for myself between 11 and 12 on Thursday to do this task. And then I'm going to hit save. And you'll see that I've scheduled this time for myself. It's on my calendar. And the really nice thing is if I open it, you'll see that the email is actually attached. And that's great because when I go to work on that, I have all the information I need right there in the actual calendar entry here, and I know exactly what I need to work on. So that is scheduling tasks from the do label. So this is called tracking with Remind. Sometimes we send an email out and we want to have a record of it that's easily accessible. So you want to follow up with a client. You want to make sure that you're reminding yourself of something important you have to do. Now, you could go into your sent mail and do a search up here and search mail, but it's pretty cumbersome, and there's an easier way to keep track of the few emails that you really want to follow up on. And that is by using tracking with Remind. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to compose a new email, and I'm going to go ahead and let's say the subject is please review file. And then, actually, I'm going to do this the appropriate way. Please review file, let's say, FGH. And I'm going to go ahead and type something into the body of the email. I'm just going to do a couple of dots. Now, what I want to do before I send this out to make sure that I can keep a record of it and move it easily into my Remind folder is I want to BCC myself. And that's very easy to do. On a Mac, you would do Shift-Command-B. That pops open your BCC field. And I'm going to go ahead and BCC myself, which is this, stackmethod@gmail.com. And then I'm going to send it. Now, you'll see right away it pops into my inbox. And now I have a copy of this important email that I sent to a client. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that into my Remind folder using the shortcuts I showed you before. So X, V, and I'm going to put that in my Remind folder, hit return, and then there it is. So instead of having to search from my sent mail and going through so much stuff to find it, it's right here, ready to go. And as I work through my action labels, I'll get to this and it will remind me to go ahead and follow up on it. So let's talk about archiving in Gmail. Now, there's a couple of things we need to discuss. The first thing is if you go to this More area here with the down arrow on the left taskbar and click on it, you'll notice in the middle it says All Mail. All Mail is the archive for Gmail. Anything that you've archived will appear there, and if you ever need to do a search, you can do so up here. The next thing I want to talk about is you probably saw me do this in an earlier video, but when you want to just archive something, you can hit X and then you can hit the letter Y and that archives it. Now, I'm going to go to a folder, and a shortcut to go to a folder is, let's say I just want to open the reply folder. I would do GL1, and that pops that open, and I'm going to hit return. And now I'm in my reply folder. I think GL stands for Go Label, maybe. And here I am. Now you'll notice that I can't archive when I'm in a label because it's grayed out. And so using the letter Y enables you to go ahead and archive. The next thing I want to talk about is when we start the stack method process, it's really common for people to have 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 emails or more in their inbox. And we need to clean those out and archive anything that's older than 3 weeks from today's date. Chances are, if it's 3 weeks old or more, you're not going to look at it or you've already dealt with it. So how we would do that is we would come up here into the search mail and we would type in something like this. After colon, we'd put the year first, the month and the day, and then before colon, the year, the month, and the day. Now, I often do this in 6-month intervals. I've done 3 here because we just worked with somebody that had thousands and thousands. If you do a too big of a time range, it's not going to archive everything and it will crash the system. So if you're a person that has 10,000, 20,000 emails in your inbox, do it in 3-month, 2-month increments. So I would type this in and then I would go to this little square here and click on that, and that will select every single message in that time frame. And then I'm going to go to select all conversations that match this search and select that. And what that does is it stops this pagination. See how it says 1 to 20 of many? So this way, everything in that time range is selected. And then I'm going to either hit archive or just do Y, and it's going to go ahead. I'm going to confirm this bulk action. I want to go ahead and get that into my archive, say OK, and it's going to do that in chunks. So that's what will happen. And if I go to my all mail, all of those things will be there. So a great way to manage your inbox is to create filters, which in other email apps are referred to as rules, and in Gmail are called filters. Now I want to call something to your attention first, and that is if you go up to the Settings tab, you can always manage your filters that you create by going into See All Settings, and then going into Filters and Blocked Address. And you can see I've already created these filters, but you can always edit or delete them as needs be. So if I go back to the inbox, what I'm going to do is show you how to create a filter. So let's say that I want to create a filter where anything that's a newsletter doesn't go into my inbox, but goes right into a label over here on the left taskbar. So I'm going to hover over the email that I want to create a filter for, and then I'm going to click up here in the Google ribbon and do filter messages like these. And a window will pop up. And you can make this as specific as you want to. Right now, I'm going to say anything that has the word newsletter in it is going to be something that I want to create this filter for. And you'll notice I put an asterisk after it. And that's there so that anytime the word newsletter appears anywhere in the email, it will grab it. I'm going to select Create Filter. And then a new window is going to pop up, and this lets me customize it. So I'm going to decide that I want to create a filter to skip the inbox. I'm going to have it mark as red. And then instead of it going in the inbox, I'm going to have it apply the label. So it's going to skip the inbox and go right to my review folder. And now the next thing that's really important is that I want to apply this filter to one matching conversation. What that does is anything that's already in your inbox, it's going to pull into that review folder so that you can have it there already. And when you get a new email with the word newsletter in it, it'll skip your inbox and the filters will apply. If there's more matching conversations that had the word newsletter, this number would be greater. And I'm going to click Create Filter. Now you can see right here, it's already gone ahead and highlighted it. So if I go into my inbox, it's actually pulled it right out of the inbox. And if I go into my review folder, there it is. So this is a cool trick that you can use when you're stacking in your inbox and you want to open up multiple emails at the same time. So I'm in Gmail right now, and I'm also using Chrome as my browser. This also works well on Safari. So what I would do is I would go ahead and I would just highlight the email I want to start with, and then I would press the Command key, and then at the same time I would hit click. on my mouse pad, and you'll see that a new window pops up in its own tab, which is very cool. And I can do as many of these as will fit. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here and go back and do the same thing here. And then you'll see I have several of them open, all different emails. And then that way I can go ahead and knock them out and just respond to these in real time. And when I'm done, I can close the tab and then go ahead and do that with each of these. Let's say I responded to each of these and they're done. And then I could go ahead and archive these right out of my inbox, and I'm done with them for the day.